Hi there, I'm Alex. I'm the person who has written Mappadux, and I just want to take you through getting your first maps into the program, just to get you up to speed quickly. A couple of things I'll point out on the main screen here. Up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see an option to install Mappadux. That means you can use it offline. Although it's running in your web browser, it doesn't need a connection to the internet. Great if you're down at your game shop or your friends' houses and you just don't have internet. And this little window down here, this here is the player view, and that shows you what the players can see at any time. We don't need that just now, because what we're going to be focusing on at the moment is creating a new map. If you're anything like me, you're going through your adventure a couple of hours beforehand, because you forgot to do your preparation because you've been stupidly working on Mappadux. And as you scroll through the adventure, you realize, oh look, here's a cool map. This will be great if I can get this into Mappadux. So this game here is from Monty Cook's The Strange. I loved it. I've run a great long campaign in it. And what we want to do is quickly get this map inside. It's a bit more of a theatre of the mind game. So what I'll do here is just cut and paste from here using the snip tool. And now what I'll do is save that off and just load it to Mappadux. We don't need to see any of this, so let's start a new map pack. And this here is my Thursday night game. So I'll start my map pack for Thursday night, wipe and start a new map pack, and I've now got nothing here, and I can add a new map. So I'll click this Add a New Map button. You're straight taken into the map asset library, because in the asset library it shows you all the maps you already have loaded. You may want to reuse maps across multiple screens, so that's why we kind of disconnect them slightly. And what I want to do is just upload, and that from the Sword Breakers. I don't know the license on this. This is just for me, but let's give Monty Cook and Bruce Cordell the respect they deserve and put their names on this, just in case you know about it, and I'll add to the library. If I now go to my library, I will now see there's that map, that Mouth of Swords map is in here. I can see it with just a little mouse over. It's not a scaled map, because normally for theatre of the mind you won't do it, but we did see this did have squares on it, so I might as well show you how that's done. So I'm just going to hit scale. What I get now is the map we just picked up off the PDF. It's got to put this grid on it as it's guessed the scale. It has no idea because there's no indication in the file name or the resolution of this. So I'll switch this off for now because it's just plain confusing. There are basically three ways to scale a map. It should take you seconds once you're familiar with them. If the map has a certain horizontal or vertical squares, just type them in there, it'll scale it up. If you know if a VTT maps are often 70 DPI and things like that, you can just select this drop down box, but this is a full manual one. We have no idea the resolution of this because I've just cut and pasted it from the PDF. So what I'll do is I'll use the line, and what we'll do is I'll pop the line here and pop the other end of the line here, and I know that is 15 squares across, so I'll just type 15 into this box here. And what if I switch the preview grid on just to check, I can zoom in a bit and you can see it pretty well aligns. I can press, if you could go up here, it says shift and drag the image, so I can actually drag the image around and align the boxes, and yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm not going to be using counters, I'm not going to be projecting this onto the table, so it doesn't need to be that accurate, but as you see, it's pretty easy to do, and I can hit save now. And now it says scaled on here, so you've got a clear indication if the map's scaled. You can click this again to rescale it if you ever need to. We can create several types of maps, but this is just the most basic, so we're not going to be part of a composite map. I can show you that later, or a text map. We can just hit use. So what I have now is I have my map pack as Thursday night. I now have my Mouth of Swords adventure in here. This is what the players see. I don't want them to see the whole map. So what I'll do is I'll just minimize this out of the road. What I'm going to do is just add Fog of War. There's quite a few ways of adding fog of war and removing fog of war on this. Sometimes you'll see on one of the other demo maps, you'll see I put squares around each of the rooms so you can just remove them as you go. But this, like I say, theatre of the mind, I'm not that fussy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint one giant polygon to basically hide a portion of the map. So anything within this polygon will be hidden. And what I want to do is they can see the outside world, they can see the entrance, and everything. Everything else is going to be blanked out. So poof, there we go. So I can see this is blanked out, and if we show the player view now, you can see that they can't see the rest of this map. And as I play the game, I can probably just use the brush tool and use the erase function. And as I go, I can just erase portions of the map like this as they go through that first corridor, and they'll be able to see what they can see down here. And that's it. It took a couple of minutes to get my first map from a PDF into here, Fog of War working, ready for the game tonight. So while I have your rapt attention, I might as well show you a couple of other ways of adding maps. One of the ones I like are modular maps. Dungeonarium creates a few little maps, pieces that allow you to join them together. So what I'll want to do is use the map compositor. But obviously the first thing you need to do is get the maps in here. So what I will do is drag 5 map pieces into here. I will give the source link here so I know where I got them from, and I'll add them all to the library. Again, I go to my library here. They've all come in. They have got their scale in there, but as we can see, they're just little map pieces that are about 6 by 6. And so what I'll do is I'll just scale one of them. And I think it's 6 by 6. Yep, there we go. That all looks good. And save. So this one is scaled, and what I want to do is create a new composite map. And this one here, you have to start a composite map with a scaled map, because how does it know how to snap things together? But the others I didn't need to scale because it can assume they're the same size as the first one. So I'll use this, and it takes me to the compositor screen. I can zoom in and out and look around, and I can add more maps. Now it's not so fussy. It's not insisting I have. These are little at the top filters, so you can see which maps are unused, which ones are used, which ones are scaled, that sort of thing. So what I'll do is I want to add these other 4 pieces, so I'll just add them all at once. You'll probably not add them as fast as this, like here. And what I want to do is create a quick 2-room dungeon out of all these little dungeon pieces, so that's cool. We'll pop this one down. Ooh, I'll zoom in a bit so I can see easier. They kind of snap together now because they're scaled. We'll put a door going here. Ooh, we'll put a longer entrance corridor going here. We'll take this piece a bit round, and what we want to do is actually duplicate this piece a couple of times to finish off this room. Now, obviously it's not a very full dungeon at the moment, but here you can basically use modular maps, tiled maps, and do things. So there it is. We now have a little 2-room dungeon, and again we see our view here and the player view down in the bottom left in this window. This window can be popped out. So if I click this, it pops out. You can't see it. It's now, I can drag that to another screen. So if I've got a second screen which facing the players, they can see what's on here. And then I can always create myself a new copy down here to keep an eye on. It's fairly blank. Let's put a monster in here using a marker. I can say add a marker here. It's going to give me the default very boring marker. We don't want that. So we go over to the icon here, click on it, and we get taken to our small asset library. This is where we store things like markers and bits and pieces. You can sort things out and categorize how you like. You can add new categories. It's a lot of interesting things you can do here, but work them out as you need them. What I want to do is just make a token on 2-minute tabletop. Fantastic site. We'll put a big red dragon in this room. Why the hell not? Let's give the players a nasty scare. Let's see what they have here. Perfect. Will do. So let's just save him as he is. I don't need him to be a different color. Go over to here, and I can just upload an image. So if I upload an image, I can upload the image I just loaded. He's popped in here. I can now click on him and he's there. He's very small. It's not a very intimidating red dragon. Let's make him nice and big. And in the feel of, let's have him facing the entrance. And in the feel of old school D&D, we're not going to ask how we got in that room. It was magic. So he's here. This will take a second to catch up. Don't worry about it. And that's great. So now you can do the same fog of war we've done on that one, but let's try and have a bit more fun on this one. Let's say this is actually underwater. Let's put a backdrop of ocean on here. So now we have the ocean, and this is where you genuinely can just play around. You can change it, make it a deep colored ocean. We can play around with a wave height. We can play around with the speed and the scale and things like that. So it is there, and but it doesn't look very there. So we can add a visual filter. Let's say an underwater shimmer. Don't worry, this dragon will flip round in a bit once it does it. And then we can, again, that's not a great, we can click on the underwater shimmer. We've got these caustic bands. If we want to turn them down, it's probably a bit too refracting. We just need it slightly like that, and maybe make the aquatic tint a bit more. There we go. So now we have an underwater dragon in here. We could, if we wanted, well, let's go crazy. Let's actually put in the background a star field, and let's perhaps use thermal imaging, and now we have a space dragon that's ready to terrify the players. So as you see, you can quickly set up things in minutes, give it a look and feel to suit your game style, and move on. Oh, that's the dragon just flipped back into place. There is going to be the odd minor bug here and there, so just get onto the Discord and let me know. I can try and sort them out. Anyway, one last map to try out, which I'd like to do, just to show you how it's done. And again, I want to upload a couple of images this time. And this is, we have an interior and exterior views. These are big old maps at 50 by 50 in their file name. And the nice thing about that is when I add these to the library, they actually come in pre-scaled because they've got this, this in the name. It'll try and find, if the name indicates the horizontal and vertical number of squares, which most maps do from creators online, it'll make it really easy. They just work straight. You can bypass the scaling altogether. You'll see that some of those other maps we used during the composite one earlier have now got scaled, inferred by the first one we chose, so you didn't have to go through the scaling effort. As I said, everything here is just designed to be quick and easy and just try and work easily. So let's start with the interior view, and I will create a new composite map, and I will use the interior view. This will take a couple of seconds to come up because these are almighty huge maps. There we go. So here's the internal view. You can see inside each of these rooms in here. What I want to do is add a map, and what I'm going to do is just add the exterior view. I bring it on, and what I want to do is just snap that on top. And that's it ready. I can now hit save, and we go straight back into the editor. You'll see this view for a moment, and then it loads in the second one on top, and it fills in. And this one will, again, takes a little while for it to hit across, and it'll get there. And what we can do now is we actually have this upper layer, lower layer, so I can slide this bar and you can see into the building. So I tend to find having it about here means, as a GM, I get a proper overview between buildings. It hasn't changed the view over here, so it's all good. Perhaps the players are in this part of the building up here. So what I can actually do is under Fog of War, when you've got if I show you on the map asset library, this is a composite map, like the one we had here, but it now says layered, because it's spotted there's overlapping tiles, and it makes it layered, which means that this upper layer bar appears, and what I can do is use a special Fog of War called Reveal Map Layer, and I can just paint. I'll just use polygon again because it's easier, and just say they've seen in this area and they can see through it. So that's how you can use layered maps. It immediately appears down on the player view. However, let's try and make this map a little more immersive. I think it'll be a bit more fun. So using the same fog of war painting tool, let's choose ocean to try and animate this ocean and make it look a little nicer. I'll use the fill option on this. I should be able to just click on here, and it's filled in just only a tiny bit, which I can barely see. So I can turn the tolerance up. There we go. That's probably good. And what I want to do is add a little more here too. There we go. And perhaps a little more down at the bottom here too. There we go. So what I've got now is a nice animated ocean. Maybe I would like to add a sound effect to this map. So let me go to the soundboard and add a slot and assign a sound. We haven't got any sounds in here apart from a couple of tracker ones. Well, what I can do is do a free sound search, and perhaps I want seagulls and waves. That's the sort of sound I want. I'll do a quick search and I'll see what comes up. No result sounds. Oh, that's because I can't spell seagulls. Let's do a search. Let's actually open it up so I don't care how long the sample is. Oh, here we go. Seagulls and waves. I can preview it. Yep, that works. So then I can import it. So now I've imported that, and I can assign a sound to this space from my library, and I want to use the seagulls. This will play it once. If I move it along here, it'll loop it, which is probably what you want for a background noise here. And this one here means it'll fire at random times. So for this, I just want looping. I probably want to hit play, and I probably want to turn down the volume a good chunk. It's just a background noise. I want it there. And now I have, in the player view, they've got they can hear the seagulls. We can see through the buildings, and we've made the water look good. So it's about making these things quick and immersive, and without having to worry too much. So I hope that helps. Have a play around. It's the best way of learning. And if you need to have any more videos, let me know. Bye-bye.